Yo, what's going on, you guys? For those who wasn't able to make it with yesterday's meeting, I'm going to be going over how to quickly mesh the nozzle that we're going to be doing or using to simulate. Um, I plan to do like 2 separate videos. That way, the video's not going to be like too long. So, yeah. So let's get started. I'm going to be using this program right here to generate us the nozzle. I'll leave a link inside the Discord, the prop Discord. So don't worry about that. If you guys have any questions downloading it, just let me know and I'll help you guys out. So I got you. All right. So we're going to be generating a nozzle specifically using air. So all you got to do is just click run and it should generate you some kind of nozzle. We're not going to be using this kind of method. We're going to be using the raw bell method. So go ahead and click run and then we can export it. You can name this however you like. Probably name this air nozzle, to be honest. Let's see, air nozzle. Okay, fire. All right, cool. All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to format the data points. That way we can easily import it inside SpaceClaim. It is kind of a process, but not to worry. It's not too difficult. So let's go ahead and look it for our Excel file that we exported. So where is it at? Let me see. Let me see where it is. Air nozzle. I think it's this one. Yeah, this is it right here. Okay. So once you find it, you have all these data points. So SpaceClaim doesn't like it this way. So the way we're going to be doing it is we're going to be putting the first column is going to be a column of ones, then the second column is going to be the axial points, and then the third column is going to be the radius. So go ahead and press Control A. Let's copy this. Let's paste it right here. I'm sure there's a better way to do this shit, but yeah. Okay, so delete that. Then we want to put the ones in the first column. So column 1. So let's do that, column 1. There you go. All right. Now we can go ahead and erase this, these letters. And make sure this is recording real quick. Okay, we're good. Okay, so this is how your data points should look like. That way we can easily import it inside SpaceClaim. So go ahead and press Control A, and it should be able to copy everything. Now we can go ahead and open up a text file. So you want to right click, press New text document. We can name this air nozzle 1. Why not? There you go. All right, we can open this, and then we can paste this directly inside the text file. Let me close this out real quick. Close that out. Okay. So it should look something like this, right? All right. So we can go ahead and close this. It should have saved. So close that. Make sure it's saved. And next, we're going to be going to the search bar, and we're going to search up a workbench, right? So this is going to be what we're going to be using for our project so far. So go ahead and click Workbench 2025 R2 or whichever version you have. Doesn't matter. They're all pretty much the same. So we click that and open it up. Should take about a minute, depending on how fast your PC is. All right, cool. So it should look something like this. It says unsaved project right now because we haven't saved it yet. So next we're gonna be dragging um, this inside the toolbox. We're gonna be getting this project out. So go ahead and click and drag Fluid Flow Fluent. So it says Fluent Flow Fluent. Go ahead and click and drag, and then we're gonna wanna create standalone system. So drop it in here. So our projects or our project template should look something like this. Next, we want to go on geometry. Don't double click, just click on it once. Then we're gonna be going switching it to from 3D to 2D, right? So 3D to 2D. If you guys don't see this section right here, just right click geometry and hit properties, and it should pop up. All right. All right, cool. So next we're gonna be going to new space claim geometry. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be importing the data points that we got from the Nozzle program, and we're going to be sketching up a far field. That way we can mesh the Nozzle. So go ahead and right click, and let's open up Space Claim. Make sure this is recording. Yeah. Let's take about a minute. Still says starting up Space Claim. All right, cool. Okay. So you should see something like this once you right clicked on geometry and you clicked on open Space Claim. The next step we're going to be doing is we're going to be importing our data points. So let's go ahead and do that. So go to File in the top left corner. So File, and then go ahead to Open. Our text file should be somewhere in your desktop. So we're going to want to go to right here and click this drop down right here. And we're going to want to go to All Files. That way we can open any file we want. So let me go to desktop, and it should be right here. So Air Nozzle 1. So this is what we want to import. So go ahead and click that and go ahead and open. Let me see what's going on here. Hold on, I think something might be wrong. Ah, so weird. Okay. Okay, let's try one more time. So weird. Okay. Let me make sure this is correct. It should be correct. Save. That is so weird. I don't know why it's not open. There you go. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure what that was, but I mean, this is the format that should work. If you guys have any issues with that, just let me know. But yeah, so you want to, of course, you want to have the ones in the first row, the axial distance in the second column, and then you want the radius to be in the last column. All right, cool. So it should look something like this. Right? Okay. So what we want to do next is we want to go to End Sketch Editing. So go ahead and click End Sketch Editing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into sketch mode, right? So after you click that, you want to click the line right here. You want to click the points that you imported, and then you want to go to sketch mode. All right. Now it should look something like this. You want to make sure, or the program that we exported the data points out of, it already makes sure that the throat is set to 0, 0, right? Or close to 0, which is good. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be making kind of like a far field. The only place that matters or that needs to be accurate is this region right here, because of course this is the actual radius of the nozzle itself. So that's the only place that needs to be like really accurate. So let's go ahead and start off with making a line at this origin right here. So we can click that. And then we can, let's say we could probably do maybe like 20 millimeters. So 20 millimeters, we could do 20 millimeters. Yeah, fire. Okay. And we go up 15.2. All right. There you go. All right. So far, you should have something like this, right? If you guys want to follow my dimensions, I'll put some dimensions right here. There you go. Okay. All right. So let's do the other side. So, of course, make sure it's directly at this point, connected to this point right here. So let's do that. If you guys are wondering how I'm doing this, you want to click the center scroll wheel on your mouse, and while you're holding control, that way you can shift the entire plane like this. All right, so we could do, let's see, I'm thinking, I'm trying to see some shocks. We do like 400 or 370, 370. So 370. And then we could probably do 100. Yeah, 100 is fine. Good enough. All right. And then let's see. By the way, if you guys want to perfectly be aligned with other lines right here, what you could do is you can take or hover over this point right here, right? So you can hover over this point, and you can see there's a dotted line, which indicates that you are directly at the same length of that line that you hovered over. So all you gotta do is just do that, and then you can click, make sure it's at 90 degrees, so it's perfectly flat. Click that. And then go ahead and press escape. And we can start off at this line now. So what we want to do is we want to make a line at this point right here, right? So this line doesn't really matter. I'd say maybe like 5 is good enough. So 5 millimeters. Make sure it's at 90 degrees too. So 5 millimeters at 90 degrees. And then we want to go straight to make sure this is aligned with this bottom portion right here. So make sure it's aligned. There you go. Now click it. Fire. Okay. So now we have our far field enclosure. It should look something like this. Make sure all the lines are closed. That way we can make a perfectly closed surface, right? All right, cool. Okay, so next step, what we could do is we can end sketch editing. Once we have our enclosure, we can end the sketch. Go ahead and end sketch. Now what we want to do is we want to fill. So go ahead and fill, and then we want to click and drag throughout the entire surface, right? So click and drag, it should look all green. So all of these lines should be all green. So after that, you want to click the check mark, and it should make a nice surface, right? Make sure this is recording still. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So you should have something like this. Um, let's see. Let's see what we could do here. Okay. All right, cool. So next step, we can click select right here, and then we can just delete this box. So you want to click it, right click it, delete it. And now you should have something like this, right? So we are pretty much done with using space claim. Next, we're going to be using design modeler to actually make the cuts. There's definitely an easier way to do that, but to be honest, I don't really know how to do that easy way. Um, but don't worry, if you guys follow this, you shouldn't have any problems. Again, just let me know if you guys have any trouble. So we can go ahead and exit this. So once you have something like this, we can go ahead and exit space claim. So click that real quick. And then we can go back to our unsaved project. So now that we have a geometry, we want to save our project. That way, in any case, there's any crashes or whatever, um, your project saves. So we can go to file, we can go to save as or save, whichever, it doesn't matter. We can call this anything you like. Let's call this air nozzle project 1. So call it anything you like. I'm gonna put this on my desktop. That way it's easily to find. There you go. Okay, so you officially saved your project. So next, we're gonna be going on geometry. So we're gonna right click geometry, and then we're gonna go to edit geometry and design modeler, right? So go ahead and edit it and or click it, I mean. Should take a minute to open. All right, cool. So once you have it open, go ahead to click import, just left click it once, and it should turn blue, and then you can click on generate, and it should generate pretty good. It's gonna take a moment. All right, cool. So you should have something that looks like this. Um, so you can also move it when you click down the scroll wheel. You can move it whichever place you want. We want to focus on the actual X and Y plane. Again, you can do the same shit that you did in Space Claim by holding Control and then clicking down on the scroll wheel. That way you can shift it like this. So okay, fire. All right, next we want to make a sketch on the XY plane. So let's go ahead and click the XY plane, and then we want to go to this button right here that says a new sketch. It's like a blue looking um, icon right here. So click that. So we now made a new sketch in the XY plane. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making 3 lines. So we're going to be making one line from here to here, one line from here to here near the throats, and one line from here to here near the actual um, start of the converging section of the nozzle. The reason why we're doing this is First, we can make the mesh a lot easier to work with. Second, we want to measure the actual exit conditions once we run the simulation and we get the post-processing results, right? So yeah, so that's the reason why we're doing these splits. So let's go ahead and get started. We can go ahead and start on sketching. So it should be down here, so sketching, and then go ahead to the line tool. So draw a line. So click that. Now we're going to be drawing a line, 3 lines. So you can draw one line right here, all the way through the surface, right? And then we want to draw another line right here near the throats. All right. Make sure they are perfectly straight. And then we want to draw a line cutting all the way through this surface right here. All right, making sure that's straight. All right, fire. Cool. Okay. So once we got those 3 lines, we can go ahead to Dimensions tab right here. So click on Dimensions, and then we want to do horizontal dimensions, right? What we're going to be doing is we're going to be dimensioning these lines such that they are perfectly at the places they need to be, right? So let's go ahead, and they're going to be with respect to this middle line right here because this is 0, 0. So go ahead and click this line, and then we can click the origin line right here, and you should see something like H1 pop up, right? So this means the distance between this line at the converging section and the actual origin line, right? So let's do the same thing for the throat line. Let's go right here. It should say H2, and then we can do another one from the origin line all the way to the exit line, right? Right, so you should have something like this. So 3 dimensions that are ready to be dimensioned, right? Again, make sure this third line right here is cutting all the way through the object, right? All right, cool. So next we're going to be inputting our dimensions. That way they are in the correct place. So let me make sure this is recording. Yep, yeah, it is. Okay, fire. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go back to our text file. Let's start off with the exits, right? So the axial or the X direction, right? Or the length of the nozzle, it's going to be 36.36 millimeters, right? So we can go ahead and copy this value. So copy this value. And then we want to put it for H3. So the distance between this line, the center line, the origin line, and the actual exit line that we put in, right? So we want to paste that inside here. So Control V, right? And then we want, if it's in meters, we want to put e to the -3, right? E to the -3. If you guys have in millimeters, you guys don't need to do that. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do the same thing for the throat section. This one's going to be a little weird, but all you have to do is you want to look for the lowest points, or the smallest radius, right? Which indicates the throat. So you can go back to the program if you have the program, and then you can see the throat radius is about, let's see. Yeah, 10.6, no, 10.562. So a little bit down, 10.562. Okay, so you can see this right here, 10.56207.321. That's the lowest, or that's the smallest radius, which indicates the throats where the flow gets choked. So we want to take this axial coordinate right here. We want to copy that. Do not copy the negative, or else it's gonna mess up the input. So we want to go ahead and copy and paste. So Control V again. And then again, if it's in meters, you want to put e to the negative 3. If it's in millimeters, you don't have to do that, okay? So you saw that the throat line actually shifted to wherever is the lowest radius, right? So lastly, let's do it for H1. So H1 is going to be a little easier. It's the very first coordinate, right? Go ahead and copy this. And let's paste this. E to the negative 3. Okay. So you should have something like this. Again, we want to make sure these are perfectly in perfect place. That way we have no issues once we start meshing, right? So as you can see, it's at the perfect place. So now we're going to be making our cuts. So we're going to be cutting this section, and cutting this section. We're going to be doing some splits, face splitting. So let's get started with that. Go ahead to the tool section right here, top left corner next to concepts. So tool section, and go ahead and click on face split. So face split. All right. And then you could see target face, it says apply, right? So that means we need to click on whichever face we want to apply it on, right? So go ahead and click this. It should all turn green, okay? So if not all of it turns green, then there's something wrong. So go ahead and, so once this is all green, go ahead and click apply. So we click apply. And then we want to click on tool geometry, right? And then we want to make sure our selection filter is on edges, right? So go ahead and click edge, and then we're going to be clicking our first line that we want to split. Okay, so go ahead and click this line. All right, it should turn yellow. Okay, so once it's yellow, click apply, and you should see something like this. You can see it's kind of like a cyan green color, and then the actual surface is a little bit darker. It's a little bit darker. So once you have something like this, go ahead and click generate. So generate is at the top left. And then you can see we made a face split, right? So this right here is our first face split. All right. All right, cool. So we're going to rinse and repeat this process. So go ahead and face split again. Click the surface. And then you can see how this is split, right? So this is exactly what we're doing. So it should look something like this once we're trying to split the actual throat line. So go ahead and click apply. And then we want to do the same thing, rinse and repeat. So go ahead to select filter edges, and then click the throat line right here. Make sure that's yellow, click apply, make sure it's cyan, right? And then we want to generate. Let's do this one more time for the exit section. So face split. We want to target face. There you go. Apply. And then we can select edge. And we can select this one right here, this line. It should turn yellow. And then click apply. It should have something like this. And then we can generate. So in total, we should have about 3 face splits. So 1, 2, 3. All right. So 1, 2, 3. So face split 1 should look like this. Face split 2 should look like this. And this is the face split 3. Okay. So once we have our face splits, we're pretty much done with splitting our surface. So we can go ahead and click exits. We're going to be saving again. That way, in case some shit happens, like any crashes happen, our project still saves, right? So let's go ahead and save again. So go to file and save. All right, fire. So we are officially ready to mesh. So next we're going to be going to mesh. You can double click it. Now we're going to start meshing. Okay, cool. Okay, there you go. Okay, that's why it looks weird. Okay, so in case you guys see just like a blank and without any lines, there is an actual, so shaded exterior and edges. So you can click that and it should show all the edges that you have. All right, so you should have something like this. Once you're in Ansys Mechanical, it should look something like this. You can see all our splits right here. This is going to help us a lot with meshing and actually giving us our name selections, indicating the throat section, the exit section, and the inlet section, right, and the far field. So once we have this, we can go ahead to click on mesh right here. Just click it once, left click it, and then go ahead to generate. All right, so it should look something like this. Okay, so once you have something like this, go ahead and click and drag. So you can click or left click and drag, and then you can click all of these sections right here. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a face meshing. So go ahead and click on face meshing up top. And this should all turn blue. So once this is all blue, we can go ahead and click generate again. So click generate again. All right. So once we have that, we can always check our mesh right after we generate a new mesh, right? So click on mesh, and now it looks a little bit better. So yeah, okay, cool. All right, so first we're gonna be meshing our nozzle section. So how we're gonna be using this, we're gonna be using sizings, biases, and divisions to mesh. So start that, let's go ahead to sizing. So click on sizing. Our first sizing is gonna be these 4 vertical lines, right? So go make sure this is in edge selection. So click on edge selection. And then what you could do is you could just click and drag, right? Make sure all these 4 lines are vertical and they're green. Make sure they're all green. And then go ahead and click apply. So apply the geometry. And then what we want to do is we want to change element size, the type to divisions. And then we want to put number of divisions. We could put 50, right? And then we can say no to curvature. So no to curvature. And then we could change it from soft to hard, pause. And then what we want to do is we want to make a bias, right? So we want the elements to be a lot more finer at the boundary of the nozzle, right? To model the actual boundary layer. So what we want to do is we want to add a bias. So go ahead and click bias type. And you can click this one, the one that looks like this right here. The bias factor that we're using, we could put 700, right? You can see this is in the wrong direction. So let's click the other one and see how it looks like. So you can see how these divisions are a lot more finer as we get closer to the wall, the nozzle wall, right? So these are all good. The only one that needs to be changed is this one because it's getting finer towards the center of the nozzle. So what we want to do to fix that is we want to go ahead to reverse bias, and then we want to click this line right here, make sure it's green, and then we want to hit apply. That way it flips, right? All right, cool. So next thing we could do is we could do another sizing. So go ahead and click sizing right here. We're going to be sizing the top and the bottom horizontal lines, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So just left click those, make sure those are all green, and we can hit apply. And we want to change this to divisions. Number of divisions, we could put 50. And then we could change the capture curvature from yes to no. And then we can indicate it from soft to hard, that behavior soft to hard, pause. And then we're not going to be adding a bias, so we can leave that alone. Now we could do another sizing for this section right here. So the top part of the nozzle and the center line of the nozzle. So go ahead and click apply. Now we could change this to number of divisions. So we could do 100 since it's a little bit longer. Pause. And then we can set no to capture curvature. Make sure it's from soft to hard. And it should have something like this. All right. So make sure you guys' settings are like this. So edge sizing for the vertical lines is like this. And then for the chamber and converging section, looks like this. And then the settings for the nozzle section looks like this. All right. So once we have these three, we can go ahead and click on mesh. Then we can go ahead and click generate. See how it looks like. Fire. So you should have something like this. Right? Again, these are the settings that I'm using, so you guys can pause the video whenever you want. In case you guys missed it. All right, cool. So once we got our three edge sizings, we're going to be moving on to this section right here. This section we can put, let's see, we can add another sizing. It's going to be from this horizontal line to this horizontal line. So you can just click and drag. Again, make sure you have edge selection selected, right? And then we can click apply. For this one, we could put, let me go in my notes real quick. We could put, let's see, let me go in my notes real quick. 300. Yeah, we could try 300. Okay, so let's go ahead to element size, change that to divisions. Now we can set it to 300, right? Say no to capture curvature, put it from soft to hard, and then no bias whatsoever. So let's go ahead and click generate. So once you guys have these settings for these two horizontal lines at the far field, make sure you have these settings, and then after that you click generate. Don't worry about this error. It's still gonna mesh, whatever. So it's still gonna mesh like whether we have an error or not. So don't worry about that. So let's see. So it looks like shit, but eventually the more edge sizings that we put, the better it's gonna look. So don't worry about that. So now we can move on to this section right here. So go ahead and click sizing again. We can start off with these two vertical lines. Just click and drag and make sure they are green. Then we can click apply. All right. Go ahead to element size, change that to divisions. This one, let's go back to my notes. Let me see. We could do 150 and a bias factor of 500. Okay, fire. Okay. So we could do 150 divisions, and then we can say no to curvature, make it from soft to hard, and then we can add a bias, right? So the bias is going to make the elements a lot finer towards this section right here, the bottom section, right? So let's add a bias. Let's see. Bias factor is going to be 500. You can see sometimes you're lucky. They're both at the right direction. This one right here is the only one that's in the correct direction. So this one is not. So let's go ahead and reverse it, maybe. No, sorry. Let me delete this real quick. Delete that. Okay, so let me. There you go. Okay, so this one on the left is in the wrong direction. So let's go ahead and click reverse bias. The same thing we did last time in the nozzle section. So go ahead and click that. And then you should have something like this. So you can see it's a lot finer towards the actual boundary right here. this bottom line right here. So once you have that, you can click on generate. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, cool. Still looks like shit, but it's okay. We're gonna add more sizing. So we're gonna add another sizing right here for these horizontal lines. Go ahead and click apply. Same old number of divisions. This one was, let me see how many divisions I did for this one. 120. Okay, so this one's pretty easy. 120, straightforward. No to curvature, no bias at all. Make sure it's from soft to hard. So you could have these settings for these two horizontal lines, right? So let's generate. Cool. So you should have something like this, right? Look a little better. Look a little better. Okay. See, like, you guys can see it's a lot finer right here, right? So there you go. Okay. So now we just need to add two more edge sizing. So the first one, we can do another sizing right here. So we're going to be doing, this is the only one that's going to be soft. Okay. So let's click this, make sure it's green, and then we can click apply. All right. So change that to the number of divisions. Let me go to my notes again. Let me see how much I put for this. So 200. So I put 200 divisions. Go ahead and put 200 divisions. And then we want to say no to curvature. Then we want to keep it at soft, right? So let's go ahead and click generate and see what happens. Okay. All right, cool. So we're gonna add our last sizing at this section right here. All right. So make sure this right here is green, and then we can click apply, element size, number of divisions, and then this number of divisions, I believe, let me see what it was. So 100 divisions and a bias factor of 100, right? So we're gonna be doing 100 divisions, all right? So 100 divisions, say no to curvature, change from soft to hard, pause, and then we're gonna be using a unique bias, which is this one right here, because we want the actual, we want it to be finer right here and here as well, where the middle section is a little less finer than usual. So let's do a bias factor of 100, right? Should have something like this, all right? So let's go ahead and click generate, see what happens. Fire, fire, okay. So you should have something like this. Honestly, what we can fix is we can add some more divisions in the edge sizing 4, if you guys followed along. Edge sizing 4. So we could add some more divisions. So maybe put 400. Let's see what 400 does to us. See if it does us good. Let's see what happens. 400. That's pretty good. It's not bad. Go to edge sizing 4 again. Let me change it to 600. See what happens. This might be too much, but we'll see. Okay, so that looks a little better. Look good. So you guys should have something like this. This is the mesh that's been pretty successful to me so far. Of course, it can get better and better, but you know, I'm not cracked like that, you know. So, yeah. So you guys should have something like this. I'm gonna go through all the edge sizings. That way you guys have, that way you guys can pause the video in case you guys missed something. So let's go ahead and do these edge sizings. So the first edge sizing, these are my settings for the first one. All right. Settings for the second one. This is the settings for the third one. Let me move on to the fourth one, which is the top and bottom. This is the settings for the top and bottom one. And then this is the settings for the 2 vertical lines. And this is the settings for the 2 horizontal lines. And then this is the settings for the only soft line right here, vertical line. And then we can move on to the last setting for this section right here. All right. So if you guys followed along, you guys should have a mesh that looks like this, something like this. All right. Fire. Cool. Okay. So the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing our name selection. So we're going to be naming our regions, right? So let's go ahead and start with the inlet section. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be clicking on each line, make sure it's an edge selection, and we can right click the line. So right click this or just click this line, make sure it's green, and then right click it, and then go ahead to create name selection, right? We can name this inlets. Oops. We can name this section the inlet section. All right. And then we can go on to the throat, right click, create name selection. We can name this throat. And then we can name this section the exits. All right. We can go on to this section right here. So this bottom portion, we're going to name it symmetry. Or actually, you could just name it axis. So axis. So we can name that axis. And then we can go on to the wall. So this is going to be our wall, the only wall that we have, right? So our boundary. So go ahead to create name selection, and we can name it wall. And then let's see. We can also, so this is going to be it's going to be a big outlet, right? So this entire section is going to be one giant outlet, like pressure outlet. So go ahead and create name selection. Make sure all these lines are green, with the ones I selected, and then we can name it outlets. All right. So we should have, okay, so we have our inlets, we have our throats, we have our exits, we have our axis, we have our wall, and we have our outlet. So we should have everything we need of a total of 6 name selections. The ones that we're going to be using mainly for measuring is going to be the exit. That way we can measure our exit condition after we run the simulation. So should have a total of 6. So inlet, throat, exit, symmetry, our wall, and our outlets. All right. Okay, so after this, we are pretty much done with meshing. The most annoying fucking part. So make sure you guys mesh look like this. And then once you guys are done, we can go ahead and click exit. We're going to be saving it again. That way, in case we have any issues with crashes or whatever, we'll have no problems with recovering our project. All right. Okay. So if it looks like this, go ahead and right click it and update. And there should be a green check mark that shows. Okay, so once you guys have it updated, you should have a green check mark next to mesh. This indicates that you are finished with the mesh. We can go ahead and go to file and then save it again just in case, better be safe than sorry. So go ahead and save that. Okay. So let me see how long this is real quick. Let me see how long it's been going. Okay, so honestly, I think I'm going to be doing this. All right, I think I'm gonna be doing 2 separate videos. So this is going to be the end of the meshing portion. The next video I'm going to be going over how to set up our problem. And then we can run the simulation, and then once after that, I can show you guys how to measure the results that you get, the exit conditions, and yeah, we'll go over that the next video. So I should have that uploaded maybe by Sunday. We'll see what happens. But yeah, if you guys got any questions, just let me know in the Discord. And yeah, y'all have a good weekend and take care.